All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the newest episode of the Theater Enthusiast. I feel like I should say it's Shakespearean because of our guest.
Ooh.
The theater. I already forgot the title of my podcast when I started. The Theater Enthusiast Podcast. My next guest is a Shakespearean enthusiast herself. She's an actor, a coach, just a really cool person. I know her personally. She's really awesome. And I'm so happy she's here because I've annoyed her for 2 months about coming on. Probably, how long? A few months.
It's been a few months. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
Known
making
as
me blush
Dame.
already.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
You're making me blush already.
Oh, I'll stop, but I won't. Anyway, she's known as Dame Sarah, but I know her as just Sarah. But
Yeah.
after this podcast, maybe next time I see you, I'll be like, "What's up, Dame Sarah?" Anyway, Sarah Spring is here. Clap, snaps.
Woot woot.
Ooh, how would they cheer in Shakespearean time?
Oh,
Well,
huzzah. Huzzah.
huzzah! I love a good
Something like
huzzah.
that. Holla. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love, so there's this musical that was on Broadway years ago with now Emmy winner Jeff Hiller. It was his one and only Broadway he did, called
Hmm.
Bloody Andrew Jackson.
Oh, yes. I saw that.
Yeah, so he has a line in the show, two lines that I always remember from that show is president. And that's when his character became president. And then when he played the cobbler, he goes, Huzzah! Your shoes
Mhm.
have now been cobbled.
Good.
Yes, anyway. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Allison.
Of course. I mean, I'm going to tell the people that are listening that I did bring out my Shakespeare bobblehead for you, that I'm just going to
It's
show you again.
fabulous.
I
Yeah.
got this at the old drama bookshop. I don't know if I got it or if a friend got it, but it was there.
Hmm.
And then I have my Shakespeare botanical book and my Filthy Shakespeare book in honor of
All the
this.
important stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I actually bought this Shakespeare botanical book at the Shakespeare's Globe in London when I
Ooh.
was there because I did a tour of the globe because I'm a nerd. And they told us about this book and about how botanicals are used in his work, and that there's a book in the gift shop that you can purchase. And I was like, I'm going to buy this book. And here we are. Ooh, you know what would be fun if I just towards some point, if I pull out this book and I name a plant, if you can figure out what show it's referenced in.
Oh, that
Would
would
you
be
be able
fun.
to do that?
I maybe, maybe not. Depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize. I am just hearing a bunch of sirens go off right now, and I don't know if you can hear that.
I can't hear it, I
It's okay.
think.
I think Zoom has this thing where you can't hear background noise anywhere.
That's nice.
Yes. But
Yeah.
anyway, enough about me talking for 25 minutes. Thank you for coming on. I always start with, where are you from?
I am from a very, very small town in Ohio. It's called Circleville. It's just south of Columbus. There's a very little fun story around my hometown. It used to be a circle. It was built inside a Native American mound, and then it had an octagonal courthouse in the middle with streets coming out, like spokes on a wagon wheel. And then sometime in the 1800s, the people who owned the lots said, "Oh, well, our property would be worth more if the lots were square instead of pie shaped." So they formed the Circleville Squaring Company, and one by one, they divided it into quarters and they squared Circleville. So now it is square, but it is still called Circleville. And that is the lack of foresight, I guess, of my hometown. And it's very small. There are uh, more cornfields than people, that sort of thing. And so, yeah, it's a wonderful place to be from. But I
Yeah.
always I felt like I was born a New Yorker, and I just got here as fast as I could. So, yeah.
I understand. I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island,
Mm.
and I went to school at Pace University downtown.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, so when you graduate June, that December, the alumni, so the people who just graduate go back to the high school. So it's this tradition they have. And
Hmm.
everyone's looking at me, they're like, oh my God, you're so Manhattan, you're so New York. So I think I was as well, just kind of
Yeah.
born to be in the city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I understand that. So where and how did Interlaken come into your life?
I, I, one of my family friends had gone to Interlaken for the summer camp, and I somehow, as a kid, like got a hold of the brochure, the pamphlet, and
Mhm.
I just was I, I became obsessed with it. I was like, this sounds like paradise. This is where I want to be. It's this gorgeous, very prestigious and difficult because it's challenging. But it's this gorgeous fine arts boarding school in northern Michigan. Um, and I just the moment I heard about it, saw it, I was like, I'm supposed to go here. This is where I want to go. And so I auditioned and I got scholarship to go my junior senior year of high school. And so I was really, really lucky and I ended up there and it changed my life and a gorgeous, wonderful, wonderful place.
Yeah.
Absolutely magical. Yeah.
Yeah. And where did your love of performing come into play before Interlaken?
Um, you know, I think a lot of actors have a similar story background where they had something of a traumatic childhood and they would use their imaginations to escape. And so, I had an abusive father, and so I would imagine myself being somewhere else, anywhere else, being someone else, and so I lived in my imagination as a child a whole lot. And it became a safe place to go. And I also my mom was the church choir director growing up, and so I always was performing. I wasn't acting, but I was singing. I started out as a singer. I went to Interlochen actually first for music, and then I ended up switching to theater.
Mhm.
But I really always knew I wanted to be an actor. The opportunity to act was, in a very small town. It really didn't exist. But I grew up watching old films, and I just, like I said, I always knew I wanted to go to New York. I think since I was 5 years old, it was just. I think sometimes when your soul has a mission, you know it right away, and I've always felt that.
Yeah. So Interlaken is where your love of Shakespeare started. So can you tell us a little bit about that and how the love of the bard started?
Yeah, I had read some Shakespeare in high school, as most of us do, but it never felt accessible to me. It always felt like there was a wall separating me from the text, that it wasn't really mine. I couldn't get into it or really understand it. And then I took an acting Shakespeare class while I was at Interlochen, my senior year of high school, with my teacher, David Monty, who is kind of a legendary educator. I still chat with him. I love him so much. And the first scene I was assigned was a scene with Elizabeth and Richard from Richard III, which, if you're not familiar with it, it's one of my favorite scenes in the canon. It's stunning. The back and forth of the language is just so powerful and fascinating. And I got hooked. And my my teacher said, in order to perform Shakespeare, you have to be word intoxicated. And that is just how I've felt ever since. Like, oh my God, I get to say these incredible words. Like, no one writes like this anymore. This is fascinating. So I fell in love with it pretty quickly.
Yeah. And what brought you to Fordham? Were you just like, it's in New York, I'm going?
Honestly, it was a big part of it. I got into several different schools. I, but Fordham, I remember when I was applying to schools, I asked the same teacher who made me fall in love with Shakespeare. I asked him if if you were applying to schools, which one would you be applying to? And Fordham was the answer that he gave, and I thought that was so telling from someone who I respected so much. And Fordham is, for people who don't know, it's a BA acting program, but it has all the rigorous like voice and movement requirements of a BFA. But it's just that you're also required to take theology and philosophy and math. That was not my favorite part, but
I think if
it
you ask any actor to math, they're just like,
no,
no.
no,
Yeah,
yeah,
I have people, they're like, what's this? I'm like, I have a degree in acting and communications. Like, I don't,
yeah. Exactly.
yeah.
And so one of the things I loved about Fordham, and it was intense. You had to audition and very selective and all that. But I love that they focus on producing thinking actors. It's one thing to learn how to move and learn how to speak, but you got to have something to say too. And it was really, I loved being able, I ended up being, I think, I was a philosophy minor when I was in college. And that has helped me with Shakespeare because every Shakespeare monologue, soliloquy, they're all arguments, and you're trying to follow the logic of what they're saying and be your own character's defense attorney at all times. So it was a great school, and I was very lucky to get to go there.
It's interesting you say that because I feel like you might have reposted this, but there's that viral clip of some benefit they did in the UK where all these different actors are coming out telling this one actor, no, this is where you have to emphasize this in the to be or not
Uh-huh.
speech. So for you, where do you think the placement or the importance is in that to be or not to be?
Oh, okay. I love this.
Oh, I'm
Um,
ready. Hot priest mug at the ready.
so ready.
Uh-huh.
So what's fascinating about this first line of text, and I have this approach to Shakespeare's verse
Hmm.
that not everyone approaches it this way, but I learned this from Stephen Skybell, who was my Shakespeare teacher at Fordham, and it has always served me well. He's absolutely brilliant, and I adore him. But assume that the verse is regular, unless you absolutely cannot scan it regularly. So what do I mean by that? Like a regular line of iambic pentameter,
Hmm.
the emphasis is bum 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 bum.
Hmm.
So assume that it follows that unless you really can't, and then explore, okay, Shakespeare's playing with a rhythm here or whatnot. And so I was posting a video about this line and how it ends with what we would call a weak ending, or that's the more updated term. The more problematic but former term is feminine ending. Um, it ends with a weak sound. And often when Shakespeare ends a line with a weak ending, it creates a sense of inconclusion or a sense of uncertainty because he could have said the line, the question is to be or not to be. That would scan perfectly, but he didn't. He chose to end it with question. And I, when I was scanning it for people, I've said to be or not to be, that is the question. And a lot of people were correcting me and saying, no, that is the question. And that would be putting what's called a trochee in the line, where you're switching an I am from bum bum to bum bum. Sorry, I'm getting into some technical jargon here. But
It's like watching your videos.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's like real time. I love it.
I love getting into this stuff. And so I've always, and that's fine. You can absolutely read it that way. But if you assume it's regular first and investigate that, then it becomes to be or not to be. That is the question. And I love the sound of hitting is personally because I think it makes this speech more active. And when I listened to Benedict Cumberbatch do his version of this speech, he hit the word is. That
Hmm.
is the question. It's subtle, but it creates this sense of driving forward. And I think that a trap that a lot of people fall into with that speech is that they make it so thoughtful and slow, and that's absolutely that you can use that interpretation. A lot of people have, and it can be very moving and meaningful. But I think what Shakespeare is guiding you towards in this speech, looking at the way that the verse is structured, is that he's actively trying to figure out what to do. And
Yeah.
the more active you make the speech to
Sorry,
be,
I'm having a coughing fit. I apologize.
oh, that's all good.
Please continue. I'm going to mute myself while you talk.
Oh, get some water, get some water. Um,
I'm good. I'm back. Okay.
yeah, I think the more active you make it, to me, the more interesting it is to the listener. So Benedict Cumberbatch's version of that speech is one of my favorites. Again, Shakespeare can be interpreted 100,000 different ways, and that's why that little sketch is so
Yeah.
funny. You have all these brilliant Shakespearean actors coming in and saying, "No, do it this way, do it this way." So it comes down to a matter of personal preference. But just from the way that I investigate the texts, I think that that's a really fun word to lean into. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing beats Judi Dench coming out with the scoop and the
And the
Shakespeare.
ruffle. Yeah.
I've always said like I want to see a Shake, and I did. I saw a 12th Night, the Shake. Well, I've actually seen a few Globe productions, but when they did like 12th Night on Broadway with Mark Rylance,
Hmm.
it's like I just want. I feel like maybe more so in the park than anything. I just want to see like a Shakespearean play in like the traditional Shakespearean clothing. And it's
Yeah.
nothing against anything that they do in the park because they do some great stuff. That's just I'm like, I just want to see it. Just want to see it in the park.
I've heard that from many people,
Yeah.
honestly. I think a lot of directors, when they approach a Shakespeare play,
Hmm.
they feel the need to, okay, how do I make this mine? How do I put my stamp on it? And a big part of that is often like, oh, I know, I'll set it here, I'll set it there. And sometimes those choices are brilliant. Like there was a Philida Lloyd production of Julius Caesar that was set in a woman's prison, which just like illuminates so much of the play and it makes so much sense and it's incredibly powerful. But then sometimes I'm not going to name names, but you get the sense that this idea is just being forced on top of the play itself. It really doesn't serve the text of the play. What's there? What is really on the page? And it's just the director trying to make it their own.
Yeah.
So one of the things I always try to come back to is like, no, what is actually here? Not what you think is on the page, but what actually is on the page. And what does that mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, nothing against the directors. They can do whatever they want. I just want to see
Yeah.
Shakespeare and Gar. I just want to see like a traditional Shakespeare, like in Shakespeare in the Park. And that's like nothing against
Yeah.
anything that they're doing because they do like my favorite. I think we've talked about this too
Mhm.
during one of our hangouts during our work sessions at
Yeah.
work, not like
Yeah.
working.
We work together.
We do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surprise everyone. That's how I know Sarah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I have worked as a bartender in the Broadway theaters. That's been my survival job for a long time. And Allison is working merch. And so we just get to hang out and talk about
We
this stuff all
do.
the time.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we've talked about the different Shakespeare productions and stuff, but I think I might have told you like Cymbeline is the best thing I've seen in Shakespeare in the Park. And
Oh,
I mean, like anything with like Shakespeare and Lily Rabe, like, let's be
yeah.
real.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was like a bluesy, there was like a, not bluesy, it was like a jazzy, like Vegas number Raul Esparza sang. And ironically, it was also just the best seats I ever had at
Nice.
Shakespeare in the Park too, which was
Yeah.
crazy. And I won, I won the lottery for it. Unfortunately, I did miss 12th night because I didn't win the lottery and I was
Yeah. Me
working.
too.
So, but
Me
luckily
too.
it's going to be on PBS at some point. So
Oh, I have my calendar marked. I'm very excited to finally see it.
I really
Uh,
just wanted to see Peter Dinklage on stage.
oh, I'm sure he's great.
Yeah.
I think he did Richard the Third a while back, which I'm
I
sure
think
was
I
fabulous.
think he did. I feel like he did Hamlet, or people want him to do Hamlet.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
I mean,
done something.
he's a great actor. I'm sure he can do
Yeah,
anything and do it well. Um,
he
yeah, and
really.
that 12th night with Mark Rylance you're talking about, oh my gosh, that's one of the best Shakespeare's I've ever seen. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, in original garb, original practice.
Yeah.
Love it.
And
Yeah.
when I worked as a concierge, I've had like nine lives with jobs, but this is like pre-pandemic. I got free tickets through work and I brought this girl I used to be friends with. And if I knew that they would dress on stage, because they
Mhm.
all got dressed on stage, if I knew that, we would have gotten there so much earlier. And I've also seen, and that I love that the Globe, Shakespeare's Globe in London, has brought their productions to New York.
Yes.
And like a few years after I graduated high school, they brought over Love's Lost.
Mhm.
And they also brought over The Merry Wives of Windsor. And I have a folio that I was gifted from somebody for Merry Wives because the theater I worked at the time, that's where they were doing the productions. And I was like, I'll run the merch table, no problem. So I was like separate from the other front of house people. They're like, you're gonna work directly with the Shakespeare Globe people about their merch. And so the woman gifted me a folio as a thank you for helping.
Oh.
Yeah, it's somewhere in my apartment. And I know that too, speaking of folios, because you just had a video you released talking about different prints and interpretations of Shakespeare. And if you want to know what it originally was, you should go back to the first folio
Yeah.
because Shakespeare was not written to learn, like in an English class. It was for actors.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no, just specifically with the first folio, I always like to go back and look at a facsimile of it to
Yeah,
see what the punctuation is, because all the punctuation in your modern editions is put there by editors, and
yeah,
they're really smart, educated. They're making these decisions, for good reasons, but it's nice to go back to the source. And
yeah,
even the punctuation in the first folio isn't necessarily Shakespeare's. It probably isn't, but it is the closest we can get to how his actors originally performed it. And the punctuation there is, again, more geared towards performing it than reading it, which I think most modern editions of the play, the punctuation's there to help make it more clear for someone reading it. Um, and it can absolutely inform your performance, and because it has more end stops, so periods, exclamation points, and question marks. Those
yeah,
mark the end of a thought. um, and we think in thoughts, not lines or sentences. That's just it helps you track your character's train of thought, and that's what I love so much about just going back to the original source and seeing what's there, and if it's helpful, use it, and if it's not, don't. Yeah.
yeah. And also that video that you made on your socials, which we'll get into,
Hmm.
got me thinking about when I was in high school, how we were taught Shakespeare. So freshman year was Romeo and Juliet, sophomore year was Julius Caesar, junior year was Hamlet, and then senior year I had a different English teacher, and she didn't want to teach the Scottish play. So
Mm.
instead we did poets and sonnets, but normally senior year you would read Macbeth. And that
Mhm.
got me thinking of like, how did they choose which plays of Shakespeare that they're going to teach high school students?
It's a good question. There's definitely a select
Hmm.
number of plays that tend to be the ones that make the list. Most teachers, because I have a lot of English teachers who follow me now, and they're always looking for content on Hamlet,
Hmm.
Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, and Julius Caesar. I'd say those are the four
Well,
big
those
ones.
are the ones that, I mean, in high school, yeah.
Yeah. And as to why, I mean, they're brilliant. And
Hmm.
for Romeo and Juliet, I absolutely get it, because I
Yeah.
think that is one of the best dip your toes into Shakespeare plays, especially for young people, because it's about young people.
Hmm.
And I, and with Hamlet, it's just kind of one of the greats. And Macbeth, God, it would be hard for me to choose. They are incredibly rich plays. But I recently had uh, a teacher reach out to me and say, we ended up switching teaching Hamlet. We swapped it out for teaching Much Ado About Nothing this year. And I thought, well, that's kind of great, because Much Ado About Nothing is an incredible play, and the way that it explores gender roles is fascinating, and I think really important and timeless, and especially right now.
Yeah.
Um, and uh, the people love Benedict and Beatrice and their relationship. To me, it's one of the best in the canon. And there really aren't that many happy marriages in Shakespeare, but I, Benedict and Beatrice, I think, are my favorite couple.
Yeah. I do
Yeah.
want to get back to you in school and all that, but I do want to keep focusing on some of the Shakespeare stuff we're talking about. So I mentioned this because my freshman year of high school, I remember this because the teacher stopped us in English class and said, I did something I've never done before. And that was I gave 100 on a paper. And I've never given out 100 before on a paper. It
Wow.
was my paper, obviously. Thank you.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, it's probably this person. I got my paper back. I was like, oh, shit. And the topic of the paper, and I don't remember what I wrote. And
Hmm.
I'm curious for your answer for this. The
Hmm.
topic of the paper was, is Romeo Fortune's fool? Because he has that line in the play, oh, for I am Fortune's fool. And so that's what our paper was. So
Ooh,
you being the Shakespeare lady, Dame Sarah that you are,
yes.
this is, and I feel like you don't get this a lot because I feel like your videos a lot of Hamlet. Um,
A lot of Hamlet recently, but that's more
yeah,
thanks to Taylor Swift.
they,
Yeah.
oh, we don't have to talk about her. I'm not a Swiftie. I'm sorry. I don't like
It's
her.
all good.
People know I don't. People get mad that I don't like her. I don't care. I heard the song. It's fine.
You can like her. You don't have to like her.
I
That's
saw
fine.
the music video. I get it.
Yeah.
Um, do you think Romeo is Fortune's fool?
Well, breaking down that, what that really means. Fortune is chance and uh, fate and things outside of your control.
Hmm.
Um, and in a way, I think we're all Fortune's fool. Uh,
Girl,
that we really all are. But absolutely, he's Fortune's fool. He's a boy who is, has a crush on a girl, is in love with a girl. And in other circumstances, that would not lead to death. But in his particular set of circumstances, it does. And, it's just so many forces outside of his control, at work. And, he's just a victim of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, because I had this question on the top of my head, and again, we're gonna go back, but we're
Yeah.
going all over the place, which we tend to do. Do you
Yeah.
think that there is an underrated Shakespeare play
Oh,
that
yeah.
you wish was performed more?
My favorite Shakespeare play is Measure for Measure.
Hmm.
And it's and honestly, Winter's Tale is also a really gorgeous,
Did
gorgeous,
you see
brilliant
the
play.
ballet that they did?
No, a ballet of
Um,
the Winter's Tale.
American Ballet Theater. I saw it on the 4th of July.
Really?
Did a ballet of The Winter's Tale.
Oh, I
Is
bet
it A
that's
Winter's Tale or The Winter's Tale?
it's the Winter's Tale. Yeah.
Okay. The
Yeah.
Winter's Tale. Yeah, they
The,
did a ballet of it.
yeah. Oh, I bet that's stunning. Um, yeah, those two. I think that the what are considered the problem plays. And sometimes Winter's Tale is in that group, but certainly Measure for Measure being the prime example, All's Well That Ends Well. Like I love these plays because it's not that there's a problem with the play, it's that Shakespeare gives you these problems that the actor, you, the director, get to solve, and he doesn't give you answers, and that's I think why we keep coming back to Shakespeare because there's so many different ways to interpret things. And um, one of the things I love about Measure for Measure is that it feels so modern. Um, if people aren't familiar with the basic plot of it, it's I the Duke of Vienna leaves town and well fakes leaving town and puts his deputy in charge of the town. And then he goes undercover as a friar and watches everything that goes down in his absence. And the deputy enacts this old law on the books that hasn't been enforced in years that sentences anyone who has sex before marriage to death. And so this young man, Claudio, gets his fiancee pregnant and so he's sentenced to death. And his sister, who is just about to become a nun, is sent for to go plead on her brother's behalf. And when she goes to plead for her brother's life, the deputy says, um, okay, well, I will save your brother's life if you give me your virginity. And she has this gorgeous, gorgeous soliloquy. She says, because she says like I'll tell the world aloud of what man thou art, and he says, who will believe thee, Isabel? And when she's finally alone, she says, to whom should I complain? Did
Mhm.
I tell this? Who would believe me? And I remember when the whole Me Too movement came about, people were saying, how uh, men were saying like, oh, this can't be true. Women are making these things up and all that. And it's like, no, Shakespeare understood this 400 years ago. Like it's the OG Me Too play, and it explores, the precarious position that women are in when they're taken advantage of by people in positions of power, and just the ideas that he explores of um, sex and uh, extremist politics and all that stuff. It's just again, so modern and so relevant, and it's one of my favorites. And I love how complicated and messy it is because life is complicated and messy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually saw that production of it in the
Oh
park
yeah. Oh yeah.
tons ago. Um,
Hmm.
and I always tell people, I'm like, I don't remember. Is it Measure for Measure or All Wells That Ends Well? Which one has the nun in it? That's how I remember like which one it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the many productions I've seen in the park. So let's go back to Fordham. When you're
Yeah.
in Fordham studying, were you just like, I'm just going to concentrate on Shakespeare? Like, what was your trajectory
Um,
wanting to do what you're doing?
I I mean I loved Shakespeare, but I was certainly focusing on other things too. I I I did a my first Shakespeare play in full while I was at Fordham. I did a production of Twelfth Night, and I played Viola, and that's just a great first
I had
uh,
to ask because I
Shakespeare.
never understood what 12th night meant.
Yeah,
Can you
uh,
explain
yeah,
that? I know that's like
absolutely.
so stupid and ignorant, but I
No, it's
just
not.
don't know. And please
No,
explain it to me. If you,
it's not stupid or ignorant at all. Like
okay.
most people don't really know what it means, or a lot of people don't. It's a holiday. It's essentially Epiphany. It's the 12th night of Christmas. Uh,
Okay.
and there's still places around the world that celebrate it. But in Shakespeare's day, it was more like Mardi Gras, where it was kind of a wild, you can do whatever you want sort of day. And there was a healthy dose of cross-dressing and you know, servants switching places with their masters and that sort of thing. So it was a rowdy, fun holiday. And you see that tension in Twelfth Night between uh, the festivities and the like Sir Toby and Mariah and Sir Andrew who just want to be constantly partying, and then Malvolio who puts his foot down, and Olivia who's grieving, and you see that at play. But also I think it's a common theory that it was first performed on Twelfth Night because plays were often performed for Twelfth Night as part of the celebration. So yeah, that's why it's called that.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Just listen, so I know. I mean, one of my favorite movies of all time is Shakespeare in Love. And
Mm-hmm.
so when Judi Dench is like, tell him like a comedy next time, 12th night perhaps. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Judy.
Anyway, so back to you and the Fordham and performing 12th night as Viola. Is it Viola or Viola? How do you pronounce it?
It's Viola. It's a long I emphasis on the first syllable. Yeah, Viola.
Viola. Okay.
Mhm.
Just please continue.
Oh yeah. And I certainly I was already in love, but I fell even more deeply in love with it. And I loved Measure for Measure so much because it was the first Shakespeare play that I saw in full. And I think that still colors my affection for it.
Mhm.
But I actually like campaigned essentially for the theater department to choose that for their main stage show. And then I was cast as Isabella in it my senior year. So I've played Isabella twice at this point. She's just a immensely rich, fascinating character, and I adore her. Yeah,
I mean, you're very lucky. You've got to play, Regan and King Lear. You've played
yeah,
Lady Mackers, as many people call her. And I love the story of how you ended up getting Lady Macbeth because you talked about the importance of knowing verse,
yeah.
how that actually helped you in the audition.
Mhm.
And it was an audition for a Shakespeare company. And you said, I went in with for 12th night. And they're like, yeah, that was great. Here's some sides for, Macbeth that you did not prepare. And because of your knowledge and background of knowing verse and knowing the language, you were
Yeah,
able to study the sides quickly. And then you ended up booking Lady Macbeth, which was awesome.
yeah, and just completely unexpected too, because I was early 20s. I wasn't very old, and usually Lady Macbeth is cast somewhat older.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's been a recurring theme of my career so far. I that's one of the things I had trouble getting. It took me forever to get an agent. when I got out of college, several of my friends booked, Netflix shows right off the bat and that sort of thing. But it was because they could play teenagers. And
Mm,
even when I was a teenager, no
yeah,
one believed me as a teenager. And it's not necessarily that I even look old, but people are just like, Sarah, you have this gravitas about you. You have an old soul.
yeah,
And so I'm just now starting to, I feel like, really start to have the kind of breakthroughs that I want to have because I'm aging into my personality.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, so I was playing roles like Lady Macbeth when I was, early 20s. And I surprised myself when I auditioned and got that role because again, normally you would be absolutely terrified cold reading Shakespeare, not just Shakespeare, but such a famous role that there's so much with famous roles like that, there's a whole lot of baggage around it because you're in the shadow of so many other people.
yeah,
But I think when you go back and just look at the text and forget everything that you think you know about it, you discover so many nuances and just moments of magic that are there waiting on the page for you. And I had so much fun doing that, and I was amazed at it really did feel like I was sight reading a piece of music. And I think musicians and sometimes musical theater actors are especially good at Shakespeare because they have an understanding that Shakespeare's language is music, and you lean into that. You don't like the verse is there to help you. It's a guide that Shakespeare's giving you to build your performance on, and like, why not use it? Why not? It's so helpful.
Well, I'm happy you brought that up because when you said earlier that you originally went to, oh my God, why am I brain for the school you went to?
It's all right.
Interlochen.
Interlochen. Yeah.
And you said you originally went for music, and I said, oh,
Yeah.
that's so interesting because, in Shakespeare, they sometimes sing, there's a
Mhm.
musicality to
Yeah.
Shakespeare. So it's so interesting that you say that now because it's true.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's funny the way that life kind of works out for you too. I originally went as a voice major and studying there, they were really preparing you for classical voice, for being an opera singer.
mhm.
Um, and that wasn't really what I wanted to do. I loved to sing, but I was, more interested in theater and musical theater somewhat um, at that point. But I ended up being put on vocal rest for my whole junior year of school. I because there was my voice instructor was like, there's something wrong with your vocal folds, and I'm not sure what. You need to get a scope down there. And I went to the ENT and they put the camera down my throat. And I actually have misshapen vocal cords.
Oh,
So, like, yeah, so most vocal folds are shaped like a V, and I'm like demonstrating with my hands, but mine are bowed. And normally that only happens when you're, a singer who has injured your cords. And there's a groove in your vocal folds called a sulcus
mhm.
that fills with liquid and then it ruptures and then yeah, all that. But that never happened to me because if I had injured my voice in that way, I would have lost my voice for 2 weeks, and that never happened. So I was just born with uh, strangely shaped vocal folds, and I think at that time I was like, it's hard enough to make it as a singer if your vocal folds are normal, but I was going to have to work extra hard because air escapes through them. And so to this day, even I like if you hear me, I'm somewhat naturally soft spoken, and that's part of it. And I love my voice, and people comment like, "Oh my gosh, I love listening to you speak," and all that. Um, but when I'm doing Shakespeare in a bigger space like a theater, I have to do kind of a pretty intense warm up in
Yeah.
order to make sure that I'm able to physically handle the demands of filling the space.
Yeah. I think I figured out something you can add to your social channels.
Oh yeah.
ASMR Shakespeare.
What?
ASMR Shakespeare.
Oh, I've been thinking about doing that, honestly. Maybe reading the sonnets with
Yeah.
a little ASMR for people to fall asleep to or something like that. Yeah, it's been on my like to-do list, but I just haven't gotten around to it.
Not to like toot my horn, but I'm going to. This podcast is full of ideas and we manifest on it. And I've had people like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm like, I know, you're welcome. But
Like, I
yeah,
know. Yes,
Yeah.
I know, I'm brilliant.
Well, I've also told people too, they're like, I want to do Shakespeare. I'm like, go get a group of people together
Yeah,
and like
yeah,
perform it. You don't have to pay to do Shakespeare. You don't have
you,
to get the rates. It's hundreds of years old. Get a group
yeah,
of people together, put on a Shakespeare production. I remember like well over 10 years ago, my friend and I were walking through Central Park in the mall area. You know where that part is where the trees overhang?
yeah, yeah.
And there was this girl, she had a whiteboard
Hmm.
and a bucket. Put the bucket out, put the whiteboard out. On the whiteboard was different monologues, and she stood there performing monologues for people just
Oh, I love
in the
that.
mall area. And I always tell people, I'm like, that girl did it. Do a Shakespeare monologue in the park. And I told somebody, go to Belvedere Castle and perform the balcony scene for Romeo and Juliet. Who's stopping you?
Yeah, absolutely no one.
Do it. If you want
I
to
love
do
it.
Shakespeare, just fucking do it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's one of the other things that I try to emphasize on my channel is like, you don't need anyone's permission to do Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be, you don't have to be Sir Ian McKellen. You don't have to have a posh RP accent, although if you do, that's lovely. But you don't, you can do Shakespeare no matter who you are, where you are from. These plays belong to you.
Yeah.
And some of the best Shakespeare I have ever seen has just been students working in class and like such gorgeous, nuanced work. And some of the worst I've seen has been in big budget Broadway theaters, you know? So it's
I know
not a bad,
you're not naming names, but I think
I'm
I know
not.
what production you're talking about, and we'll talk about it
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah. So it's not
I'm not mentioning the worst Shakespeare production I've seen,
uh
but I will say I did have a sinus infection that I didn't know about whilst watching it.
that can also color your experience of things, I'm sure. Um,
Yeah,
but
that's
oh,
Shakespeare. I think we talked about this too, was
yeah.
and people have commented on this on your YouTube as well, on your YouTube, on your Instagram. Well, best Hamlet I've ever seen is Eddie Izzard.
I've heard multiple people
Yeah.
say, I'm so mad that
Yeah.
I missed
And you and
that.
I talked about the Andrew Scott Hamlet, which I don't know
Yeah.
if it's still on YouTube or not.
I haven't seen the whole thing. I've seen bits
Yeah.
and pieces of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Andrew Scott, I've heard multiple people say that that's their favorite Hamlet. And, he's an excellent example of kind of the exception to the rule of you should speak Shakespeare trippingly on the tongue. And I do prefer a much more active to be or not to be speech.
Hmm.
And Andrew Scott's is very not that.
Yeah.
It is slow and pondering, but I think because it's so spontaneous. It really feels like he is inventing, coming up with these words on the spot
Hmm.
that he makes you hear them. And for many people, they say it's the first time they really felt like they understood that speech.
Yeah.
So, there's an exception to every rule. People love his performance. I still prefer it. I still think he could have maybe gotten there a little faster, but it's still an incredible
Well,
performance.
I know you're a performer, but I'm sitting here, I'm like, this girl has to direct a Shakespeare show one day. Like, do you
Thank you.
have a dream show? Like, if you were to direct a Shakespearean play,
Yes.
which Shakespeare would you direct?
I have two. I would love to direct a production of Hamlet with my own vision, and I'd love to direct a production of Measure for Measure with my own vision. Yeah,
Could you see a female playing? Because it has happened, but a female Hamlet.
yeah.
Yeah, I think Ruth Negga
Um,
did it recently, right? In Berkeley.
I, yeah, yeah. It,
Someone,
it's,
yeah, I think they
it's
also
uh,
did that in at the Globe recently with the artistic director.
it's, it's fascinating that, I mean, one of the really cool things about Shakespeare is that to a certain extent, gender is irrelevant, right?
Mhm.
Because all these roles were originally played by men and boys to begin with. So if you do an all-female production, that's not crazy. If you do an all-male production, that's not crazy. If you switch up genders, I mean, it's it, it can be done. There's an elasticity to the roles depending on how you want to direct it and what emphasis what parts of the story you want to emphasize in a way. But of all the male heroes in Shakespeare, Hamlet has been one that is most often played by women. I'd say Hamlet and Richard II are considered two somewhat uh, feminine men, for lack of a better term. And that's just I and I don't it's interesting. I don't think I would direct a female Hamlet, although if I had the right woman to do the role, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just brought me back to like I totally forgot about this until this very moment. When I was in college, they did Romeo and Juliet and they cast a female as Romeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I love that.
Yeah. And a female was Juliet, so it was a lesbian love story. And
Yep.
it worked.
And it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense that way.
Yeah.
That's one of the there's so much plasticity to these plays. They're
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
So getting back to you saying that, and I identify with the getting cast when you're older because I had a professor in college tell me that a lot. Like, you're not
Yeah.
going to get cast till you're older. You're not
Yeah.
going to get cast till you're older, which is like great to tell someone in their like just about to be 20 or their like
Oh, it's so
20,
frustrating.
21-year-old self. Like, just
Uh-huh.
because you did a really good job playing like a 60-something-year-old Long Island accent Jewish woman. I mean, let's be real. And myself in however many years. Um,
Yeah.
that kind of like pigeonholes them in their brain as well, you know?
Yeah.
But I understand that now. Like, I'm already like, I know I'm going to play Margaret Johnson Piazza one day. It's
Mhm.
fine. I know
Oh,
I
you'll
have
be great
another,
at
like,
that.
oh, thank you. I know I
It's
have a couple more years before I'm like Rosie and Mamma Mia. It's fine.
Mhm.
But I lost my train of thought of why we were talking about this. So you said it took you a long time to get an agent. So you have an agent now. So what type of roles and things are they putting you out there for?
Um, I do I don't just do Shakespeare. Shakespeare's
Yeah.
the focus of my channel, but I'm mostly straight plays and commercials and that sort of thing. And anytime I do get a chance at Shakespeare, I certainly bug my agent, hey, can you try to get me into that? So
Yeah.
yeah, all that.
Is there a non-Shakespeare? I don't want to say like modern, I'll just say not
Yeah.
Shakespeare because guess what? There's other playwrights.
Mhm.
Is there another like favorite play or playwright you have that you would love to work on?
I would love to play Vonda in Venus and Fur. Um,
Oh my
It
God.
is
Stop it.
it's one of my favorite plays I've ever seen. I saw it with Nina Arianda and Hugh Dancy on Broadway way back when.
Isn't it
Changed my
weird
life.
that he's British, but his American accent sounded better than his British accent? Like, he's actually
Yeah.
British, which is so
Yeah.
weird to me. I was obsessed with Venus and Fur.
Oh my
Obsessed with
goodness.
Venus and Fur.
It's such an incredible play. And that's one of those things where I made a video a while back talking about Aristotle's six elements of theater, right?
Oh, mm-hmm.
Character and thought and music and spectacle, all these
Yeah.
different things that you emphasize in theater. And spectacle is, for me, I mean, it's fun, but it's kind of
Yeah.
at the bottom of the list in terms of importance because I can go see something like Venus and Fur, which is two actors alone in a room
Hmm.
for, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that is one of the most compelling things I've ever seen. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that show. And I would give anything to play Vonda, anything.
I think I saw it twice. Yeah, and it's like very well deserved Tony win for
Sorry, my boyfriend just walked in.
it's okay. I live by myself. I have Le Capri Smug walking by. Bye.
Oh no, he just came from the dentist. He can't even speak to me right now.
Oh no.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, love.
Okay.
Okay, go lay down. Sorry about that.
Listen, we have boyfriends, girlfriends, partners appear on the pod. We have animals make appearances. No,
I
it's
am
all good.
surprised my cats haven't made an appearance yet. They tend to be very they like the spotlight.
Listen, I told you like when we were texting about this, I'm like, it's super casual, like whatever. My
Yeah.
favorite is telling people I had a guest once, and it was probably like one of my favorite things. And we were doing like a late night, like an 8 o'clock recording, and it was we ended up like we got off the Zoom at like 11 something, and he just
Mhm.
like brought a glass of wine with him to record. I was like, and then afterwards, I said, I'm like, I love how you had wine. And he goes, oh my God, I should have asked. It's like, honestly, it was the best thing I've ever seen.
I love that vibe. I love it.
Yeah. bring wine, what I don't care. Like
Mhm.
super cash. Yeah, I love that for you and I want that for you. And I can see that because getting back to Venus and Fur, yeah, that's and I forgot about that play,
That's
but now
good.
it's like back in my brain and I'm going
Yeah.
to just like look at everything about it. Oh my God.
Yeah. So I'm going to manifest that. Anybody wants to
Oh,
cast me in?
we met. This is the manifestation
Yes.
podcast.
Yes. By all
I
means.
always tell the manifestation story of this, and I'm like not taking credit for it, but I am. I had this person on a couple of years ago, and like, I asked like dream things, blah, 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 and they said I want to do Shakespeare in the Park. And I said, like, why not audition? He goes, oh, I think it's too late to audition for it now.
Mm.
A year later, like a few days after his podcast episode was released, like to the date, like a couple of
Yeah.
days after, a year later, this Shakespeare in the Park cast was announced and he was in it.
Oh, all right. Can I manifest that too? Because I also want to perform at the Delacorte.
Wow.
It hasn't happened yet, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, listen, my joke is I have a degree in acting. Like I act like I like people. I'm not pursuing it professionally, but to perform for me, if people were like, if you were going to perform anywhere, what would it be? And I would say it would be the Delacorte Theater.
Yeah.
It would be the Vivian Beaumont Theater. Those are the
Oh,
two.
absolutely.
Because
Absolutely. But the Vivian Beaumont, I
it's
think, is
my
the most magical stage on Broadway. The way
it's
it
also
transforms.
the
Oh,
my freshman year of college, we took tech classes,
yeah.
and the tech teacher, who's also my first semester acting teacher, who fucking hated me in acting class for whatever reason and would
Darn.
always call me out. He'd be like, yeah, everybody passed the quiz except Allison. She failed it. Like, why would you fucking call me out like that? You're a dick. Anyway, I
I'm
digress.
sorry. Yeah.
But he loved me in the tech class because I actually like did work in it and I did stuff. But he took us on a backstage tour of like the Piazza at
Oh.
the City in Beaumont. And I just remember standing on the stage and this girl who was my acting partner, she spilled Red Bull on the stage. Yeah. And then we learned about, especially there being like the 12th night that they did there, that they had pools on the stage and how far back the stage goes. And it's like a
Yeah.
full city block. It goes back.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, those are and the Delacorte, just the energy at
Yeah.
that space in the open air. It's
Yeah.
incredible. There's
I
nothing.
actually, I haven't, because I've just been so busy working my two part-time jobs and just being a tired human.
Yeah.
I haven't even walked by the Delacorte since they like
Yeah.
took all the stuff down for the construction.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new Delacorte yet either. So
I
maybe
haven't.
we need to make a date. Just go
Oh
walk
my
and see
God,
the
let's go. I'm
yeah.
free like Monday the 27th. Let's go then.
All right, we'll talk.
Oh
We'll talk
my
after.
God, I'm so excited. Well, I say that because, there's no shows that day. There's no MJ that day.
No, there's no MJ.
No MJ. Anyway, but yeah, any other aside from, well, that's going to be a later question for you.
Okay,
So
cool.
let's talk about building your channel. Why did you decide, like, you know what? I am a nerd about how like you nerd out about Shakespeare when I asked you that like to be or not to be thing, and you're like,
Uh-huh.
okay, let's do it. That's how I get about theater. And
Hmm.
it I'm such a theater nerd and I get very passionate about talking about it, but I'm not self-aware about of myself doing it. And the
Hmm.
last time I became really self-aware of me nerding out so hard about theater is after I saw the play Punch that they're doing right now at MTC.
I have not seen it.
It's so good. As soon as it started, I turned to my friend. I'm like, it's so British. It's so good. And Will Harrison is making his Broadway debut in it. And he did this play last year called The Coast Starlight or The Star Coast. I can never remember the exact title of it. And they did it at Lincoln Center. And I think about that play at least once a month. And she was also in Daisy Jones and the Six,
Ah,
which I
yeah.
loved. But his performance is incredible. And that's his Broadway debut. Yeah.
Uh, what a way to start.
Yeah.
That's oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
So like last time was like really self-aware of like nerding out like really hardcore about anything
Yeah.
theater-wise was Punch. But getting back to the theater nerd stuff, what made you
Yeah.
decide like I want to share my love of the Bard with the
Well, It's funny. It actually goes back to the pandemic, which was the absolute like rock bottom time of my life.
Yeah.
Uh, and yet it changed my life for the better. And one of the well, yeah, let me just go into this. So I
Please.
I work in the Broadway theaters for my survival job in addition to acting. And so when the
As
Broadway,
many people do.
many people
I
do,
have a lot of people do. I mean, I a lot of bartenders or performers that I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Yes.
And I love my job. Honestly, I love getting people excited to see the shows, and I love being in the theaters because I mean, God, this we'll get into this later, but I was there for the original cast of Hamilton. I would clean up my bar as fast as I could and sneak in and watch every single night because I knew that this is a kind of magic that I will never see again. And I just that's the theater is like going to church for me. It's such a part of my it's not just my livelihood, it's also my spiritual livelihood. And so when the theater shut down, I lost all of that. And I didn't have much savings. And actually, sorry, let me not even exaggerate that. I had no savings. And I was on the phone with unemployment for hours at a time, as many of us were, trying to get through, trying to, get some sort of help. Um, and about 2 weeks before all that happened, I had just broken up with my boyfriend, who I knew was the love of my life, the person I want to spend my life with. And he was immunocompromised. And I was terrified that he was going to get sick and that I would never see him again. And so all of that happening all at once. And at that point, we had no idea when the theaters were going to reopen. They said it would be 30 days, and then that just kind of became a joke because it was like, not until we get a vaccine. Like, it's just not going
Yeah.
to happen. And so during that time period, I was also by myself, alone in my shoebox apartment in New York City. It was just me and my cat. I barely saw another human being for 4 months. And that was just, I mean, God, it's so horrible for anyone's mental health because it's a lot like solitary confinement, frankly. Like I could barely leave my apartment. It was wild. Um, but the thing that got me through that time was that because I knew that Shakespeare wrote his sonnets for the most part while the theater was shut down because of the plague. And so I thought, well, you know what? This is as good a time of any for me to do a deep dive into the sonnets. And so I didn't think that anyone would watch these. I didn't think anyone would be interested, but I set a goal for myself where I would read, analyze, and film a video on one sonnet a day during the pandemic while the theaters were shut down. And while I did that, it was the only thing that got me out of bed most days. I was so depressed and so mentally, struggling. Um, Sometimes that was all I could do that day. I remember one day I uh, I woke up and the clock said that it was 7, and I looked out the window and it looked like it was kind of light, kind of dark, and I couldn't tell whether it was 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. And I had to Google, and it was 7 p.m. That's when I woke up. Like that was how messed up. Anyway, it was rough. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. But reading Shakespeare's sonnets got me through it because I found myself relating to him. And also, when you have a broken heart, there are worse things you can do than read your way through Shakespeare's sonnets because you'll find yourself saying, "Oh my God, I feel exactly like that." Oh, you put words to this feeling, and it's someone reaching through the page from 400 years ago saying, "Hey, I get it. I've been there."
Mhm.
Like that I felt like I got to know Shakespeare the person the better by doing that deep dive into the sonnets. And so like I said, that got me through the worst part of the pandemic. And since then, all happy stories. My boyfriend and I are back together. We have a beautiful life and a beautiful home with our two kitties. I could not be more lucky. And I'm back at a job that I love, and I'm creating theater again. Um, but over, since then, I would still get messages and comments on those old videos that I posted that I didn't think anybody would watch, where people were saying, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for explaining this. I'm working on this sonnet for class, and I couldn't find anything on it on the internet." And I thought that's wild that people can't find this information on the greatest, one of the greatest writers of all time, you know? Um, and so I had it in the back of my mind that I wanted to start a Shakespeare channel for a while because I also just like looked and I didn't see I didn't see that it existed anywhere. I mean, there are certainly people who talk about Shakespeare and have Shakespeare themed channels and all that, but most of them are from an academic standpoint.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's so different when you approach it as an actor. And to me, again, I didn't fall in love with it in English class. I fell in love with it on my feet, saying these words out loud. And so, even now, some people will refer to me as a Shakespeare scholar, and I'm like, I'm not a scholar. I didn't go to school for this. I went to drama school. Like I'm an actor first and foremost. And that's always the approach that I take to this text is if I'm performing this,
Mhm.
what do I need to know? What's going to help me? I do get into the history and the technicalities of how the verse is written, but again, it's all in service of performance and also just I'm curious. I'm curious and I look things up and I've definitely put in my 10,000 hours, you know. But it's come from a love of this text and just sheer curiosity and passion for it. And I think um, it's been beautiful to see people responding to that. And I think so many people, and this always brings me so much joy when people say this, but they said, I haven't read a Shakespeare play since high school,
Yeah.
and you inspired me to go pick up a copy of Macbeth for the first time since then. Or like, I don't really like Shakespeare, but I love your channel. And that always like brings me so much joy because I think a lot of people don't like Shakespeare because of the way it's taught, of the way it's often performed. And I just thought, if people understood it the way that I do, if people approach it the way that I do, I think they'll have way more fun with it. And that has been such a joy, getting people excited about this language. And again, it belongs to everyone. And I think it's also been a challenge. It's also been a challenge in a way because I'm American. I think most of the not so nice comments that I get on my video are a lot of frankly a lot of British people who are like, how dare you uh, have the gall to teach us our own playwright, to teach us our own language. And that that makes me sad because I do have plenty of British followers who love what I do and they're wonderful and I enjoy them. But um, I think in some ways it is easier for people to get into Shakespeare when I teach it because I'm not British, because I'm American, and it seems like, oh, if she can do it, then I can do it.
Yeah.
Because there's this kind of belief like, oh, you have to have a British accent to do Shakespeare, and it's silly. It's not true. If you go into Shakespeare's original pronunciation, it sounds like all sorts of different accents around the world because it's essentially like a great 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 grandfather to all sorts of accents. In some ways, in certain sounds, in American accents are closer to what Shakespeare would have sounded like, and so it has nothing to do with your accent. It's just um, the education and exposure to the material and using the language of the verse and your vocal variety and all of that. And so it's been really um, I really love making the point that Shakespeare is for everyone, and that just because you're American or Australian or Irish, like it doesn't matter. It's yours. It belongs to you. So
I
yeah.
think the word accessible is really
Yeah. Yes.
very accessible. And because people aren't used to the language and how you were saying how they were probably taught, people are afraid of that. But, and like you said, something for measure with, the Me Too movement, Shakespeare talked about it like 400 years ago. So,
Yeah.
and he's still very relevant, a lot of his stuff that he has. I mean, we talked about Julius Caesar, and I know that you mentioned in one of your videos how there, or, and I don't remember where I heard you talk about it, but
Mm.
the Shakespeare in the Park production that they did, where they had Caesar as a Trump-like character.
Yeah.
And, when they talked about that production, there were other people saying, like, the South did a production where they had Obama as,
Hmm.
the Caesar type character. I actually saw that production and there
Hmm.
were protesters in the audience, but they were planted actors at part of the production.
Yes.
And so when they had actual live protesters there, I said to myself, I wonder how that's going to work out with like
Yeah.
actual actors who are supposed to be.
Yeah.
I was, I don't remember what happened with that, but I just remember that.
I saw that production too. Actually, one of my teachers, Tina Benko, she played well, she played Calpurnia, but really she played Melania. And she's just one of my favorite actors. She's incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the the stories, the language, the ideas that are explored, they're too big for one time period. They're too big for one location.
Mhm.
They, I mean, that these stories are meaningful uh, all over to everyone. And I just, they're magic. I'm about to tear up. I love Shakespeare so much. And I think I'm just so passionate about it. And I get so excited to talk about it. And I
Yeah.
think that's what draws people to the channel is that, even if it's not your area of expertise, when you hear someone speak passionately about something, you're drawn to it. And that brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. That's why people are like, you're such a, like, your theater, like, you love it. It's like, I do, I can't help it.
I love that you are the theater enthusiast podcast. I
Thank you.
mean,
I mean, I
yeah,
call myself more of a theater nerd than
yeah,
enthusiast, but it just like rolls off the tongue better and it sounds more
yeah, yeah,
sophisticated, you know?
yeah.
I was going to ask your thoughts because I have a random hair just flying about. Look at that. In my early merch days,
Hmm.
I worked a lot of merch in Venice
Mm.
because I was like the only one willing to do like a 3 hour show. And I always
Yeah,
said, if it's a 3 hour show, but it's a good show and I like it, I will work it.
yeah.
I find it interesting that back in the day, because this, I mean, clearly it didn't age well. It's more of a drama now than a comedy, but it's considered a Shakespeare comedy. Thoughts
Mhm.
and feelings.
So comedy is in some ways a more technical term in that it was expected that a tragedy ends in deaths,
Mm-hmm.
a comedy ends in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a marriage, or it is a comedy in that it ends with multiple couples getting married. You have Jessica and Lorenzo, and Bassanio and Portia, and Gremio and or what's his name, Graciano and Nerissa. Um, but I will defend Merchant of Venice. I think that it's more similar to the problem plays that we talk about, like Merchant of Venice or All's Well That Ends Well, that they are morally complicated. Um, and the word, the name Shylock has come to be a anti-Semitic slur, but the character himself, he's he's so multifaceted. Like we empathize with him. He's technically the villain of the piece, but he's also the victim of the piece.
Yeah.
And Shakespeare doesn't paint him the way, I mean, at the same time, you had Christopher Marlowe writing The Jew of Malta, which is a very anti-Semitic play. There's no way around that. But the way that Shakespeare treats Shylock, he treats him as a human being. And so even though he is the villain of the piece, it's not that simple. Like he is a fully fledged human being that you relate to. And I think um, the best way I look at that play is that it's a comedy for all the Christians and it's a tragedy for Shylock. Um, and I often will ask questions on my channel about like what's your favorite Shakespeare play, or what's the best like setting of a Shakespeare resetting of a Shakespeare play you've ever seen. And someone commented that they saw a production of Merchant of Venice that was set in 1930s
Mm,
fascist Italy. And I thought, oh my God, that makes so much sense. That that just opens the play in such a way because it's acknowledging the anti-Semitism of the time and like Portia's racist. Portia is anti-Semitic and yet she's like the heroine of the play. And I'm always fascinated by stories like that that aren't so clear cut who's the good guy and the bad guy, essentially. I during 1930s Germany, the the Nazis loved putting on productions of Merchant of Venice, but they had to cut huge sections of it to make it fit their agenda because the "Hath not a Jew eyes" speech, it is arguing for the basic humanity and dignity of the Jewish people. And so they had to cut that. They cut all sorts of like to make it fit their agenda. So it's not as simple as that.
yeah.
But I do think it benefits most if you're performing it today, if you perform it in a kind of setting with the understanding of it is a comedy for the Christians, it is a tragedy for Shylock.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
just some of the things you'll learn when following Sarah on social media. So let's talk a little bit more about building your channel and your social media. So you started to do it during the pandemic. And what have been some of like the bright spots and some of the challenges and what are the things that you're learning as, I guess we can say like as a content creator, as a social content creator, and
Yeah.
have this like really cool niche. I don't want to say, I guess I'm just going to say like in the market
No, it's
because
true.
there's like a lot of people who aren't doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I, I in a way, I started during the pandemic because that's when I started filming the sonnet videos. And I at first I just uploaded those to Facebook, and then enough people were watching them that I put them on YouTube so that they were more accessible. But I went years without coming back to that. That was just always in the back of my head of like, I'm still getting comments about how much people appreciate these videos, and it's been years, and they're not like I didn't know anything of what I was doing. I didn't edit them at all. They're messy, bad lighting, all that stuff, but they're there. Um, and so I kept it was in the back of my head for a really long time. Like I think I want to do this, but it's really scary putting yourself out there and letting your work be seen. You put yourself in a vulnerable situation. And so I was frankly too scared to start the channel for about several years. It took me years to actually post my first video, but it came down to my incredible partner, my boyfriend, who just kind of looked at me one day and said, "Sarah, the world is just waiting. The world's just waiting for someone with your passion and expertise
Mhm.
to open up this world for them." Like, and so it was just so beautiful and encouraging what he said, and it it kind of gave me that boost I needed. And then so I started posting on TikTok first, and I'd hit the 10,000 followers mark within a month, which
Oh,
is pretty great, I and that's the monetization hit limit that you have to hit that. And so it was just like, oh, people actually do want to learn about Shakespeare from an actor's point of view. Like there are people who want to watch this stuff. And I also get this from people saying that, social media can be such a toxic place, um, that this is kind of a breath of fresh air because it's just about, hey, I love this language. Come study it with me. Come enjoy it with me. Um, and again, that just brings me so much joy. I only started posting on Instagram. I maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago, because I went back and started posting my old TikTok videos there. And in a way, I wish I had done that right off the bat. But at first, I was like, I don't want to do too many platforms. I want to dip my toes in, not get too bogged down. But it's just, I realized I'm making these videos anyway, and I want to reach more people. Like more people want to see this stuff. And so I started posting there. And in a way, it also felt even more vulnerable than TikTok because TikTok is kind of an insular community in a way. Not everyone is on TikTok, but just about everyone is
I,
on Instagram.
we've had this conversation. I am not.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I've had personal heroes of mine start following me on Instagram, and in a way, I'm kind of glad I put off doing that because I might have been way too intimidated to keep going if that had happened
Yeah.
before. But it's a huge honor when someone that you look up to starts following you and liking your work, and that's it's I, it. I'm my goal has been to post a video a day, and I've so far, knock on wood, I've been able to keep up with it.
Yeah.
And I have learned so much from my followers. Oh my gosh, I've gotten so much better at Shakespeare after starting this channel because they ask me questions, and I'm like, I don't have the answer, but I will find out.
Mhm.
And it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
And so you also putting it out there, if people want to learn with you, you do one-on-one coaching as
I
well.
do. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got several clients and I love doing one-on-one coaching. So if you're and it's not just for actors. I mean, I do help actors, of course, but I have people who are just like, I just love Shakespeare and I want to learn more about it. I have one client that we're working our way through the canon, just enjoying performances of the plays and talking about them and how to approach them as a performer and what they mean today. It's just it's a blast. Yeah.
Do you want to like shout out on your, again, I don't have TikTok. I only know about your Instagram. But in your bio, you have a link to your Amazon storefront, which is all
Yeah.
Shakespeare shows you write, shows, well, plays too,
Yeah.
books you recommend. And then you also have a free guide to Shakespeare's verse, which I
Yes.
know you say a lot in your videos, but people should check it out, especially if
Yeah.
you just don't know.
Yeah. It again, the other one of the reasons for wanting to start this channel is that I want people to I want actors to be better at Shakespeare. I want actors to understand it more. And it kills me that the way of this, there's so much to learn from studying Shakespeare's verse. And it's not taught in English class. It's really not. You talk about big picture ideas, but again, you don't talk so much about like what is actually on this page, going syllable by syllable, like what's happening here. And that's what this guide that I wrote endeavors to do. It's like how do we find the clues that Shakespeare is giving the actor in the text, and what does that mean? What opportunities does it present to us, and how does it help us understand what's happening? So yeah, I've got a free guide to Shakespeare's verse. It'll change the way you view the texts. I'm very proud of it, and I love making that free to everyone because I think again, Shakespeare needs to be accessible.
Yeah.
Like I love that. And the Amazon storefront, I don't love supporting Jeff Bezos, but
I will
it's
say,
a
I mean, it is Prime Day, and I did just buy a bunch of stuff off of Prime Day. But girl,
yeah.
like you got, you get if your skincare is on sale
Yeah. Oh,
and it's
absolutely.
very expensive facial serum,
Yeah.
you have to get it at a discount.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely. I certainly am a Prime member myself, but it's just by being able to create this storefront
Yeah.
on Amazon, I was able to put all my favorite editions of the plays, but
Mhm.
also favorite resources, books about Shakespeare that I think are especially helpful, all in one place because people are constantly asking me, Sarah, what books do you recommend? And it's a nice place for me to need to have them. And yes, I get commission when you buy from them, so it'll help support your friendly neighborhood Shakespeare coach too.
Yeah. So I feel like I have like so many questions I want to ask you, but one of them, I'm gonna be a little bit of like a conspiracy theorist for a second.
Mhm.
How do you feel about the years-long conspiracy that Shakespeare never wrote his actual plays? Oh, the look of disdain that you just gave.
No, 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 no. And it's not disdain. It's a
I know
fact.
it's like here we go.
No, no, it's
No, I'm
just
just saying that out loud for the people who aren't
yes.
seeing what you're saying. And I not like disdain towards me, but just like
Yeah.
ugh, these people,
No,
these conspiracy theories. Let's talk
no.
about it.
Honestly, uh, it's a fascinating subject, and I the only reason I haven't gotten into it so much on my channel is because people get so passionate about it on both sides.
They even made a movie about it, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the
Anonymous, right?
anonymous, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I will say, there's several different theories of authorship. There's a theory that Christopher Marlowe wrote the plays. There's a theory that a woman wrote the plays, specifically like Amelia Lanier or Mary. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her last name right now. But the one that I find the most compelling is the Edward de Vere theory. I'm not an expert on the subject, but I read an incredible book called Shakespeare Was a Woman and Other Heresies by Elizabeth Winkler. Um, it's a fabulous book and it takes an academic look at all the different theories of authorship. And I love that because it gets past the like conspiracy theory-ness of it all. It's like, okay, but really, what is the evidence in, for these different theories? And some of the most respected actors, Mark Rylance, who I think is our greatest living Shakespearean actor, Derek Jacobi, they don't believe that Shakespeare wrote the plays. So when someone who is that intimately, um, who knows the text that intimately, like questions that, there is something there. It is worth investigating. The simplest answer is still, Shakespeare wrote Shakespeare. And that's the primary theory. But if you are interested in the other ones, I again, I recommend that book so much. It's available on my storefront. It's available as an audiobook as well. And I saw it when I was in the drama bookshop the other day too. It's fabulous. I really love the like no nonsense. Okay, let's break it down, different theories, and you draw your own conclusions. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite performance of someone who has actually played Shakespeare?
Oh,
This could be on stage, like Christian Borle in Something Rotten. It could be
played Shakespeare the
like
man.
playing Shakespeare the man.
I actually haven't seen many people play Shakespeare the man on stage. I mean, I saw Christian Borle do it in Something Rotten, which is a very fun comedic take, and I love Christian Borle and just about everything. I think he's brilliant.
One of my
Um,
many boyfriends, Paul Mescal, is about to be
oh, that's right, in
coming
Hamnet.
out. He's playing Shakespeare in that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. That's on my like my list. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you, so you don't, there's no one particular?
No, it's not standing out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I was thinking like my favorite performance in one of Shakespeare's plays, but
Well, we
Shakespeare had,
can, you can go there too.
yeah. My answer for that one is kind of a downer because the best Shakespeare I ever saw in person was Kevin Spacey as Richard III.
Oh,
And he's a monster, but it was a sociopath playing a sociopath, and that's probably why it was so convincing.
yeah,
Um, Sam Mendes is an incredible director, and so any chance you get to see Sam Mendes directing Shakespeare, take it.
yeah.
Um, and Mark Rylance, I didn't see this one live. I saw the recording of it, but Mark Rylance as Olivia in that 12th night. Oh my gosh,
You
the way
didn't
he
see the
plays
12th
her.
night on Broadway that they
I
did?
missed it when it was on Broadway, like a
Yeah,
dope.
they won their like third Tony for it.
I know, I know, I know.
It's
I
incredible.
I missed out, but I
Mark
saw
Rylance in
the record.
anything, to be
Mark
honest.
Rylance is my hero. I
Yeah,
just adore him. And yeah, when he plays Olivia, he plays her so earnestly and completely changed the way that I view the character, and just not as a joke at all. Like um, so lovingly. He plays her so lovingly, and I recommend it to anyone. You can get the full uh, version on the Globe Player, which is yeah.
yeah,
Download it, watch it. It's fabulous.
yeah. I'm trying to remember if we talked about, you haven't gone to London yet, right?
I have not.
Yeah.
No,
Because
I
I remember I was like, I forcefully showed you, I'm like, this is where the original globe was. It's
yeah,
coming back to me in our one of our many. I'm going to come
yeah,
talk to you while you're sitting there.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there was another question I was going to ask you, and now I don't remember it, and it's going to bother me that I don't remember it. Let me think. Oh, wait, no, it's slowly coming back. Mentioned Spacey. Oh, I was going to ask, did you see Alan Cumming in his one man?
No, I didn't see that. Ugh.
I really loved his interpretation of Lady Macbeth
Hmm.
because he really, what's the right word? He really used the sexuality of the character and used
Yeah.
sex pretty much as like the main weapon and goal to kind of get what she wants. And I thought you don't really see it played like that,
Yeah.
even
Oh,
if it's kind of there.
I
Yeah.
think that's exactly right. And Alan Cumming, I just adore him. He's brilliant in everything. I actually just again, it's interesting because my knowledge of Shakespeare on film
Mhm.
is not as good as my, because most of the Shakespeare I've seen has been on stage. And so especially since I've started this channel and I've been watching versions that my followers have recommended to me. I just watched the Julie Taymor Titus Andronicus for the first time I I with Alan Cumming. He plays Saturnine, um, and it's what that might be so far my favorite Shakespeare on film. It's absolutely incredible, and Jessica Lange in that film. Oh my God, she's incredible. Like now, I really want to play Tamara. Like that's fabulous.
What's your favorite modern movie adaptation of Shakespeare, and why is it 10 Things I Hate About You?
I'm so glad I didn't even have to say it. It's 10 Things I Hate About You.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm honest, actually, that was my first exposure to Shakespeare. I watched that film as a kid, and it's still, I usually list that as my favorite movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I adore it.
You know, they're
I
turning that into a musical too, and Carly Rae Jepsen is doing the music.
really interesting. We'll see how it turns out. It's they've got a tall order because how do you recast Heath Ledger? That's tough. He's so incredible in that film.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's absolutely, I think a lot of the modern adaptations that are the most successful are the ones that in some way kind of build upon and improve upon
Mhm.
the original. It's like, look, Taming of the Shrew is real problematic. It's super sexist and all that, and I think that the best versions are the ones that really lean into that these two people are meant for each other, but they don't woo peacefully. They come at each other like fire.
Yeah.
Um, and by, updating it with a more modern feminist lens, it's just
Yeah.
it it takes off. And I love that film. It's one of my favorites.
I
Yeah.
remember my freshman year of high school, we had to do in history class, we did like Renaissance time period. And so we each had to do a presentation. So mine, of course, is about Shakespeare. So I dressed up as Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And I showed clips of Shakespeare in Love, kind of like, oh, this is what it was like back in the day when you were going to see a Shakespeare show. And a friend of mine had the same history teacher, but was in a different class. And I said, and they also had Shakespeare. And I said, why don't you do your presentation on the modern movie adaptation? So you have like Lion King, which is Hamlet, and
Yeah.
10 Things I Hate About You, which is Taming of the Shrew. And I don't
Mm.
remember the other ones I told him. And then you also have She's the Man, which is Twelfth Night.
Yeah, which is fun and silly. Yeah.
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 This is Duke Orsino.
Oh my goodness.
Do
Baby
you
Channing Tatum. Love
Oh
it.
my God, I know when they did like the tampon up the nose. Never forget. Never
Never forget.
forget. Do you have any, I mean, aside from Venus and Fur, do you have
Mhm.
any other dream roles or projects you would want to work on as I cough to the side?
Um, I I'm I'm currently working on writing something. Um,
Okay.
that is a dream of mine. I won't get into it too much, but it involves how we see the character of Ophelia.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so Ophelia is a role that I have not played yet, and that I would really, really love to before I age out of it. So that's another.
Listen, age is an illusion. Do you not remember like years ago we did a staged reading of Romeo and Juliet with Kevin Kline and Meryl Streep as Romeo and Juliet?
You know what? Fair enough. Absolutely right.
Was that
Absolutely right.
saying?
Was it John Gielgud who was playing Hamlet into his 70s or something like that? I
I
mean,
have
or
no
Ian
idea.
McKellen, I think, did it and later in life. Yeah.
You said Jacob something, that great Shakespearean
Oh,
actor.
Derek Jacobi.
Yeah, Derek Jacobi. He played Mercutio in Kenneth Branagh's Romeo and Juliet that he did with James Madden. No, is it James Madden?
I don't remember.
Oh my God, Lily James and the guy who was Richard Madden was Shakespeare.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
Shakespeare, my God.
Oh, I love Richard Madden. Oh, I bet he's a great Shakespeare.
No, he
Yeah.
wasn't Shakespeare, he was Romeo.
Oh, he was Romeo.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I have a DVD player.
I don't anymore.
Oh,
No.
okay. Because I somehow like found this website that like offered bootlegs and I got the like Fathom movie event version of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was gonna say like you can watch it. I can lend it to
Uh,
you, but you don't have a DVD.
I I might need to break down and get one. They take so many things off streaming nowadays. It's
Yeah.
nice to actually
I
have
have a
physical
DVD
copies.
Blu-ray player that I never use. Well, sometimes I just want to watch Barbara Streisand's The Mirror Has Two Faces.
Oh, that's
Have it
my
on
mom's
DVD.
favorite movie. Oh, it's so good.
Like
Yeah.
I can have like an entire podcast episode about that movie, but I digress. So you're writing something about Ophelia. Um, I was going to ask another question and I totally forgot. This is where my brain is right now, and I love how you're drinking out of a share show mug.
Oh, yeah. I loved the Cher show. For those of you who don't know, it was at the Neil Simon
Uh-huh.
Theater, and it was underrated. I'm not a huge jukebox musical fan, but I really loved that one. It was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you, I went with a friend of mine and I kept going like, we're actually in the share show thing, terrible share impression. And she's like, you need to stop. So do you
Yeah.
have any, and this is like not even just Shakespeare, this is just like theater, period, anything. What is your top going theater experiences? And again, it
The
does not have to be Shakespeare.
yeah, the original cast of Hamilton.
Mm,
That's I changed it changed my life. It blew my world like blew my mind. I'm mixing all my metaphors. Yeah, I remember seeing it and thinking, oh my God, I didn't know theater could do this. And
mm,
like I said, I bartended there. And so I was so lucky because I would just clean up my bar as fast as I could after walk in. And my coworkers knew how much I loved it. And they would like let me go in and do that and just watch it from beginning to end. And um, you know, I there's also, frankly, something very Shakespearean about the way that Lynn writes, the way that he uses the rhythm. And oh, you're making a face.
I don't know if I should publicly say this because some people either like him or they don't.
Yeah,
But I have said to myself, like, I kind of feel like he's kind of like our modern Shakespeare.
honestly, I would say him and someone like Kendrick Lamar, frankly.
Yeah,
Like the way that the way that rappers and hip hop artists use rhythm with
yeah,
the language. It's honestly very similar to what Shakespeare does, where you're telling the story not just through the words you're using and the meaning of them, but through the sounds of them.
mhm,
Um, and with something like Hamilton, it's also of that huge epic scale
yeah,
that Shakespeare plays are, because Shakespeare doesn't write, kitchen sink dramas. I mean, he does. There are moments of domestic
yeah,
scenes throughout, but it's always in the context of something that the only play that he ever wrote that actually is not about kings, queens, noblemen is Merry Wives of Windsor, and it's fun, but it's not one of his, considered
yeah.
one of his
Oh, I saw
greatest.
that in the park too. One of my favorite
Oh
lines.
yeah.
Yeah, when you had Falstaff, he's like, "I'm dressed like a black Dumbledore." That's not a Shakespeare line.
Very Shakespearean. Yeah,
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 but the fact that I cackled so hard when
yeah.
he said that line, it was great. Yeah,
Yeah, I love like if you don't do it too often, but a select few like modern improvs into Shakespeare can be fun. Like,
yeah,
maybe that's and people will get mad at me for saying that because some people are like, you have to be completely word honest, and I don't know. You got to follow the text perfectly. No, every now and then you can play. That's all right.
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's just the epic scale of Hamilton. It's Shakespearean. It is, and some people get mad at the idea of like you're comparing Lin-Manuel to Shakespeare, and it's like, well, no, but just technically, what he's
Yeah.
doing with the language and the layers of meaning,
Mhm.
is similar. Yeah,
Like he
absolutely.
was saying, like even one of the musical pieces is like the AOL dial-up tone.
Yes,
Who in their
exactly.
brain thinks of these things? Like it's
And well does.
insane.
There's so much thought that goes into every line of that show. And I mean, it's like Shakespeare, where you'll have four different meanings to one lyric. And again, it's
Yeah.
just there aren't many people whose writing is rich in that way. There are so many brilliant writers, but that level of layers of meaning,
Yeah. There's like
that's
some
tough.
sort of like special brain that these humans have that can actually do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's like a puzzle master or something like that. It really is, and that actually that's how Sondheim described composing,
Yeah.
and Sondheim does
Like the
similar
Shakespeare of his time as
things.
well. Yeah.
He was considered the Shakespeare of his time, where it's just different pieces of a puzzle all coming together and fitting together. And yeah, I think in addition to being word intoxicated, I think a love of puzzles will help you with Shakespeare because every time I am looking at a complicated line of verse, it's
Yeah, I
just
just remembered I have something. Please continue.
oh, no worries. But yeah, it's like I call them scansion puzzles. It's like solving a puzzle, trying to figure out what's going on in that line, why it's written differently, what it tells you about the character. I love it.
So, I enjoy Shakespeare myself. I have Shakespeare playing cards.
Oh, nice.
And I totally forgot I had these. And then you have in here the Shakespeare's Guide to the characters.
Hmm.
Next time I'm at MJ and I remember, I will bring this so we can look at it together and you
Sounds
can
good.
enjoy the Shakespeare playing cards. So, other than Hamilton, anything else? Or is it just like, no, Hamilton?
Hamilton, I Venus and Fur, which I already talked about. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I also loved more recently, and I know that people have mixed opinions on it, but I loved Sunset Boulevard when it was revived. I
This is
thought
what I
that,
keep talking about when people talk about Sunset Boulevard. You're either a Sunset Boulevard person or a gypsy person.
oh yeah,
You've
yeah,
never met an in between.
yeah,
I
it's
was a
true.
Sunset person.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And I agree. I loved Sunset. I saw it 4 times.
I just, you know, when Jamie Lloyd is good, there's nothing better. Like he,
Mhm.
and that staging was brilliant because it was so embedded in the text and the theme of that story. Um, yeah, I absolutely loved it. That's
Yeah.
my favorite thing I've seen recently. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting too. Like for me, as like a theater nerd,
Mhm.
and I haven't released well, I'm releasing the episode tomorrow or announcing who it is tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I interviewed Adam Rapp last week and his
Oh,
I know.
oh, oh,
And, he's a playwright and he's talking about, and in my research of him, he talks about, the writing, and sometimes all you just need is like the script and like a bare stage. And I agree with that because sometimes when the material is so good, you
yeah.
don't need all of these added things. And
Oh,
especially if you have great performances. Like I saw a show last season called Grangeville at well, it was Playwrights Horizons.
that's Samuel L. Hunter or Samuel
I
D.
just
Hunter.
know the
Sorry.
actors. I don't
Yeah,
remember the playwright, but
Samuel D. Hunter.
ori-
He's
yeah, it
great.
was originally supposed to be like Brendan Fraser was in the show and like Brian J. Smith, and then we get the email like Brendan Fraser isn't doing the show anymore, but Paul Sparks is, and I was like, oh my God, it's
Oh,
Paul
I love Paul
Sparks.
Sparks. Yeah. Oh,
Paul Sparks. And so
yeah,
I messaged my friend. I was like, listen, Brendan Fraser isn't doing the show anymore, but Paul Sparks is still doing it.
yeah,
We emailed and said, like, if you want a refund, you can get it. I said, I still want to see the show because Paul Sparks is in it.
yeah.
And like their performances in that show was incredible. And there was no set. It was a tiny like stage, just the two of them on stage together at different points. It was just incredible. And that's what's, a testament to like good performances and good writing and all that.
Yeah. Well, so the playwright Sam Hunter, he was actually my text analysis teacher in college
Oh,
at
wow.
And I'll give a shout out to him. I learned so much about how to take apart a play, how to just like figure out the mechanisms of how plays work.
Yeah.
Um, that's so much, and that's why his writing is so good because
Yeah.
he just understands how it works
Yeah.
so beautifully, and also has so much to say. I love him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, getting back to Adam Rapp, not to like be name
Yeah,
dropping, but
yeah, yeah.
when I saw The Outsiders, I said to my friend, like, this would be a really good play. Like
Mm,
it's nothing but the music, and I told him that too. And I said that's a testament to the writing.
yeah,
Co-wrote it, and it's true. Like I think, and again, nothing gets the music. The show is great. I think The Outsiders, just based on that, would just be a really great play on its own.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anything else? Venus and Fur. You can say no. We can move on.
No, no, I'm just like trying to think. I mean, there's certainly more Shakespeare roles. I kind of want to collect them all. But outside of that, yeah, Venus and Fur is at the top of the list. I'd love to do some Tennessee Williams,
Yeah.
of course. I also just one of my favorite writers working out there is I love anything by Lynn Nottage. I think she's brilliant.
Oh, is that why you like MJ so much?
Not Sweat and Ruined are
Yeah.
my two favorites of her plays. I think they're absolutely incredible. Yeah, yeah. It's,
And
there
that
lots of stuff I want to do, but
and there
yeah.
we are. All right, you ready for some inside the actor studio questions?
Yes,
Should
thank you,
I
James Lipton.
should I
Thank you.
channel my inner James? My inner James
Absolutely,
Lipton.
absolutely.
Listen, I've worked in many actor studios, so it's funny too because the guy who played the Duke in Measure for Measure on Broadway, I think his name was
Hmm.
Lorenzo or something. He was the horse in Equus,
Oh,
like the one that Daniel Radcliffe was like obsessed with. So when
uh-huh.
Daniel Radcliffe's Inside the Actors Studio happened, he actually came to watch his Inside the Actors Studio, and they had me
Oh,
work the VIP tables because
yeah.
that's the theater I worked at when I was in college and a little after, where they also did like the Shakespeare's Globe stuff.
Yeah.
That's where they filmed Inside the Actors Studio. So I
Yeah.
gave him his ticket, and he comes up to me, and goes, "Is this seat front row?" And I said, "It is." And he goes, "I told him not to put me there."
Oh,
Yeah. So like small little fun little full circle moment. Anyway, okay, Sarah,
okay.
what is your favorite word?
Calipigeon.
What is your least favorite word?
Oh,
And is it Shakespearean?
uh, no. No is my least favorite word.
What turns you on?
Passion.
What turns you off?
Prideful ignorance.
For those listening, the silence is us, Sarah and I, just like nodding our heads so hard, like agreeance.
Uh-huh.
What? Okay, I already asked that. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck.
Oh, it's such a good one.
It just feels so good, the f and the hard k.
And you
Ugh.
can use it in so many different ways.
And I use it in ways that I shouldn't. I accidentally said it in front of my boyfriend's very conservative Christian mother and small nephews the other like a few months ago. It was so embarrassing. So embarrassing. But oh God, I love the word. I
Well,
can't help it.
fuck. There you go. Sometimes it comes out. What
Yeah.
sound or noise do you love?
I love walking past rehearsal rooms. I love overhearing people rehearsing,
What sound or noise do you hate?
screaming.
What profession other than yours would you like to attempt?
Oh, um, man, this is the one that's got me stumped. Um, I would, I don't know, in another life, maybe I would just be happy being a librarian. Yeah,
Great. It's just
yeah,
surrounded by Shakespeare all the time.
yeah, honestly. Yeah.
What profession would you not like to do?
Taxi driver, Uber driver. I have horrible anxiety driving, and yeah, it just, I would be terrible at it.
I will say driving in the city, I would have really bad anxiety. Like
Yeah.
I've driven on Long Island, that's fine. But in Manhattan itself, yeah, I would not want to do that. So I understand. Okay. And finally, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
All right, what do you want to know?
And here are your students. Now, I think we should play the fun botanical game.
Uh-huh. Oh, yes, please.
Okay. I'm not even gonna look. See, like I haven't even opened this. I have all these Shakespeare books thinking like I'm gonna read them. Like this
Yeah.
filthy Shakespeare book my friend told me about over the summer when I went to visit her in DC. And I was like, I'm gonna buy it. And I just like wordplay, Coriolanus. What a terrible.
Hmm.
Okay. What's this one? Dying to Come, Antony and Cleopatra.
Oh, yeah. The word to die in Shakespeare was a double entendre for to orgasm.
Oh,
So,
well, the more
yeah.
you know, whoosh, star.
So at one point, Cleopatra, after she's told that Antony's wife has died, she says, "Can Fulvia die?" And it's a real dark, mean joke about like, oh, can she die? Like, can she orgasm? Also, like,
Also, just like look at the Shakespeare on the cover of it and how like
oh,
he
he's so
knows
naughty.
he knows
Yeah,
how naughty he is. Okay.
yeah.
So this is from the Shakespeare's Globe in London.
Okay,
Okay. Just
okay.
tell me when to stop.
All right. Just a heads up, I'm honestly not great with the plants in Shakespeare, which is why I own my own copy because I always have to be looking up what different things mean because I do not have a green thumb. I am just
I
like,
still have my Shakespeare books from college where you had
yeah.
like those two separate, like you had the tan and the green book. And
Hmm.
I still have my Shakespeare textbook, which I used to use as a mount for, when I did podcast interviews. My computer is running through other coffee table books right
Oh,
now.
my computer is sitting on my complete works right now. So
Oh
there you
yeah,
go.
that's what I have. The complete mine is currently on Vogue and the Metropolitan Museum of Art Costume Institute, parties, exhibitions, and people. I'm also like a huge Metropolitan Museum of Art is my favorite, and give me a fashion exhibition. Mwah. It's also on Natasha Peer and the Great Comet of 1812 coffee table book. And recently the Manus Ex Machina coffee table book of that fashion exhibition that they did years ago at the Met. So there we go. All right, I'm still going.
Okay, all right, okay. She's pawing through the
I
pages.
know I'm getting a nice fan. Am I Beyonce with the fanning? Anytime. You had to
All
tell me.
right. Oh, okay. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead. All right.
Yeah, I'm still
And
fanning. Tell me when.
gotcha. When?
Okay. Let's see. Lady Smock.
Lady's smock.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't even what
Wait, hold
I
on.
don't know.
Hold on. I'm confused now because this looks like a different plant than this one.
Hmm.
And it gave me this, but there's like no information about it. So I went to this one,
Hmm.
Lady Smock.
Yeah.
Shakespeare ends Love is Labor is Lost with a song, contrasting summer when the cuckoo mocks married men when it's, see, that's why I don't read out loud because I can't do it that well. With its
It's all
call.
good.
All right, Lady Smock. When daisies pied and violets blue, and ladies' smocks all silver white, and cuckoo buds of yellow hue. Oh, maybe that's the cuckoo buds.
Hmm.
Maybe that's what that is.
That one I would not have gotten.
Cuckoo bud is an old name for the buttercup. So it ended on this page.
Oh, and those are
So now we know
buttercups.
what it is. Yeah. All
Huh.
right. Well, that
Yeah.
failed for one.
All good.
So,
Yeah.
Sarah, before we end, is there anything you'd like to put out in the world? Any comments, concerns, questions, life advice, how people can get in touch with you? If, oh, now I know what I wanted to ask
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Is there a common question that people DM you about? What's like the one question you get asked the most, whether it be from your students or followers on social? If it's about like a particular Shakespeare show, sonnet, about the man, about you, like what's the most common question you get asked?
That's a great question. I think
I love how that's the last question I remember too.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, it's often it's just more, usually general questions about like and often from teachers who are saying I'm teaching this play.
Hmm.
Help,
Hmm.
help. Like how do I
Yeah.
where do I start? That's honestly that is the question I get from everyone. I'm new to Shakespeare. Where do I start? Um, and I start. it's tough because I think there are certain plays that are easier to dip your toe into the world with. Like, Romeo and Juliet or A Midsummer Night's Dream, I think are two, very accessible plays, and it's easy to fall in love with them. So if I have, if I have to choose
Hmm.
some, I might say try that first. Um, but then just go where your curiosity takes you. Go where your curiosity takes you. Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Get Over It?
No.
It's with Ben Foster, Kirsten Dunst, like Mila Kunis before she was famous. Cisco is in it.
Mhm.
Um, Colin Hanks is in it. Martin Short is in it. And they're putting on a musical production of Midsummer Night's Dream.
Nice.
And it's every time like I think of Midsummer, I always, and I'm trying to figure out who the characters are, I will go back to Get Over It and I'd
Yeah.
be like, who played what part in this like musical?
Yeah.
So I know who was who. But
Yeah.
and the joke is that like the musical is terrible because like Martin Short's character is like the theater teacher and he's eccentric and I wrote the music, no one else can. Like so, yeah. And when you were
Yeah.
talking about the musicality, I was like, I wonder if she's seen this movie.
I have not, but I'll have to add it to my list.
Yeah,
But just adding to that last thing I said, now that you made me think of it, see the plays. Don't
yeah.
just read, them, see them. They are meant to be seen. They are meant to be performed.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if you do want to ask Sarah a question, you can reach out to her by.
Yes, you can DM me on the social medias. I've got my email address up there as well, and you can book one-on-one coaching through the links in my bio. Yeah, I've got an Amazon storefront. If you want some of my favorite books, favorite editions of the plays, and favorite Shakespeare resources, all of that. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm out there. You can find me.
you can
Yeah.
find Sarah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank
Finally,
you.
of
Oh, this was
course.
fun. It can be a little intimidating going on podcasts, but this is just so nice. Like just getting to talk with my friend Allison. It was good.
Yeah, I told you it's super casual. You didn't even have to do
Yeah.
Shakespeare.
Thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. So you can stay on once we're done recording. Everyone, thank you for listening. I hope Sarah's enthusiasm for Shakespeare has like brought more excitement about Shakespeare if you were listening to this because I feel like when I was younger, I didn't appreciate Shakespeare as much as I do
Yeah.
now that I'm older. And I feel like when you're younger, at least for me, not to talk on anybody's behalf, I didn't really understand the language of it. And when you're younger watching Shakespeare, you don't understand it. But now that I'm older, I definitely have more of appreciation for it.
Well, and every time you come back, you'll find something new.
Yeah.
Every time. I've worked on plays for years and I'm still finding new things always.
Yeah.
So
And that's what's so great about the Bard. I'm just gonna hold up the bobblehead while we say it.
good.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. And thank you all for
Thank
listening.
you, Allison.
Great.